I just want to say how much I absolutely love Sri Lanka. This is the best country in the world. It's the Final Word Daily with me, Daniel Norcorss, and Fidel Fernando. In association with Lacuna, focus on your game. Lacuna has your kit covered, and we are here to talk about England's mauling of Sri Lanka in Colombo. We all hope that it could be the upset that this tournament has promised, but hasn't quite delivered. So to deliver his verdict in 30 seconds, it's Fidel Fernando.
Sri Lanka were in the game for quite a substantial part of this match. They got wickets with the new ball, kept striking through that middle over period. Heather Knight and Nat Sciver-Brunt had a decent stand, but they kept striking at the end that Nat Sciver-Brunt wasn't at. But the thing was, they had to contend with Nat Sciver-Brunt in the end. She just kept batting, kept taking the game deeper and deeper and deeper. Got England to 254, 253 for 9. With a century, her fifth in World Cups. And then Sophie Ecclestone came in, 4 wickets. I think in her first 3 overs, she bowled 2 wicket maidens and just turned the game. Sri Lanka didn't end up getting anywhere close.
Yeah, I mean, that does tell basically the story of the game, but there was so much going on in this one. I really enjoyed it because it was yet again an opportunity for us to see some development in Sri Lankan cricket, as we've seen in Bangladeshi cricket. We're still waiting to see a little bit more of it in Pakistani cricket, notwithstanding how they gave the champions Australia a bit of a scare. But you're right, Nat Sciver-Brunt was crucial. And once again, Sri Lanka are rueing a dropped catch. They rue the dropped catch of Amanjot Kaur in the very first game that could have given them a chase of 220 they could well have made to shock the hosts, India. And had they got Nat Sciver-Brunt early, Prabodhini dropping a pretty simple chance at mid-wicket. Look, somebody else might have scored the runs instead. I don't think they'd have got England to 253, though. Nonetheless, it was a masterclass from Nat Sciver-Brunt to fill in some of those details. Her 10th ODI century, her 5th in World Cups, which is the most by any player. She is a truly remarkable cricketer. She even picked up 2 wickets as well. People wonder about which players in world cricket could actually get into an Australian side, and you'd argue that there are 2 of them in the England team. The other 9 wouldn't, but there are 2, and both of them, I'm afraid, for South Africa, for Sri Lanka, beg your pardon, today, very much came to the party. And you wonder how many runs Nat Sciver-Brunt might have scored in that innings if she hadn't kept on losing partners at just the wrong time. She developed a partnership with Heather Knight. They were just starting to get going. 109 for 2 at that point in the 22nd over, and you thought, this is where they're going to flip the switch. But Knight got out, then Nat Sciver-Brunt did the thing that captains do. She waited just in case there was a collapse. Then a partnership of 37 was now the time to go. No, Sophia Dunkley went. Emma Lamb came in, looked actually pretty fluent. Was now the time to go. No, bang, bang came Rana Weera, just as she had done against India. Bowled an incredible over. She's a bowler of incredible overs. The one over she bowled to poor old Alice Capsey, who was made to look like a doofus, and it was no fault of her own as the ball spat and turned. There was some marvellous glove work from Sanjeevani behind the stumps. But at 168 for 6, it was therefore incumbent on Nat Sciver-Brunt to, I guess, chew up some overs and take it deep. She did, and once there were 5 overs left, she unleashed merry hell. 49 runs coming in those last 5 overs. She looked like she could hit the ball anywhere she wanted. Indeed, she did, as poor old Prabodhini started with a massively leg-side field and ended up being smacked for 3-4s in different parts of the offside. So by the end of the over, it was a completely different-looking field, and Nat Sciver-Brunt walked off with staggeringly a runnable 117. It didn't look like it was going to be that at one point. And then, as you've said, Fids, it was all about Sophie Ecclestone at 95 for 1 with Jamari Atapati. We will discuss shortly because there was much fun had in the commentary box about her retirement. At 95 for 1, and it not being Chamari who has been scoring the runs, it had been that hopeful top order. Really excited by the likes of Hasini Pereira, by Vishnu Gunaratne, by Harshita Samara-Wickrama, thinking that this is the future of Sri Lankan batting. And they were giving England a real scare until Sophie Ecclestone came on. And I've got to give you some stats. Sophie Ecclestone has now taken 30 wickets in World Cups. The most ever is 43 by Julian Goswami. She's got to 30 wickets 5 innings quicker than the nearest quickest bowlers. Morizan Cup is one of them. 17 matches, same as Carol Hodges, and one other. I forget her name off the top of my head. She's smashed that record. Got there in 12, not 17. She is, get this, Fids, across all formats, the 5th leading wicket taker in women's international cricket history, and she's 26 years old. She's only about 40-odd wickets behind Julian Goswami and could go top. I mean, she could go top by the time she's 27 and a half. In England, we tend to downplay a lot of the time our women cricketers because we're overwhelmingly suffocated by the spectre of Australian dominance. But those two players were the ones who did it for England today, and they are the two of the very best players in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that she's 26, and I just assumed, I mean, 2017 World Cup was when she kind of came on the scene, did well.
No,
in
she didn't play in 2017.
Oh, which was
Alex Hartley played instead of her.
Okay.
So she's only played one World Cup before this. She took 21 wickets in her first World Cup, the last World Cup. She's taken 9 already. That's got her to 30. To beat the highest number of wickets to Goswami, 43, she just needs another 14 wickets, I beg your pardon. She could do it in this World Cup. She could easily play 5 games. Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. 4 for 17 in 10. And she was held back. She was the 6th bowler used, Fids, because, understandably, Nat Sciver-Brunt went for the offies to the lefties. But do you know what? If you've got the best bowler in the world, it doesn't matter whether they're left-handed or right-handed, they get out.
Yeah, I mean, Sri Lanka were actually doing okay. They were not far from being on track for this chase when Ecclestone came on. And then, first over, she gives away 2 runs, one of which was a misfield. And then second over is a wicket maiden, third over is a wicket maiden. And suddenly the whole game looks completely changed. And in the course of this spell, she bowled unchanged the way through. Was obviously a massive threat to the right-handers, was getting it to dip and spit and bounce. And I think it was her height and a little bit of overspin that she puts on the ball that creates that extra bounce, which the Sri Lankan batters found really hard. But the really special ball was to Chamari Athapaththu, a left-hander. Obviously, Sri Lanka, by far, Sri Lanka's best bowler. Great flight, and then wriggles it through bat and pad into the stumps. And the crazy thing about her spell today was that she just looked like it was just like a workaday thing for her, like she was doing nothing more remarkable than mowing a lawn or, painting a wall. And she was bowling one of the spells of this World Cup. In this ground is kind of a haven for spin bowlers, has been for a long time. It's one of the kind of great spin bowling limited overs grounds in the world. And it's really, I looked up, England women had never played here before. But England men have also just, their 4 top wicket takers at this ground are, in terms of performances, in terms of innings analyses, are seamers. So England spinners have never done well here. Sophie Ecclestone made the home team look like the away team, on one of kind of the spin bowling hotspots in the world. So yeah, I mean that was the spell that left, 254 wasn't out of reach of Sri Lanka, especially if Athapaththu had a good innings. But Sophie Ecclestone not only got rid of the top scorer, Hasini Pereira, but she just ripped through. She just left that entire top order in disarray. And, that was where, as good as Nat Sciver-Brunt's innings was, I thought that was where the game really definitively changed in England's favour.
I couldn't agree with you more, actually, because when you were watching the game, feeling the game, and when you're in there watching every single ball, you're looking at the tussle between the two sides, and you never felt when England were batting that England had got away. Far from it. I was a little bit surprised at the ease with which England scored against the new ball. They lost an early wicket to another clueless run out. There's something about opening batters in this World Cup. I'm looking at you, Susie Bates. I'm looking at you, Georgia Plimmer. And now I'm looking at you, Amy Jones. When they say run, do you know what? You'll get in. I mean, it wasn't a great run, and it probably would have been out with a good throw, but just run, and you'll probably get in. It's kind of infuriating to me, this, should I? And then just come on, work it out. Openers keep on doing this. But Tammy Beaumont getting out just before the end of the power play, when she was looking good for the first time, actually, in a one-day international for quite some time. You take out the matches against the West Indies, who are frankly abject at the moment, and the team they sent to England was hopeless. She's had a lean trot, and she was having a lean trot in domestic cricket as well. And today, she just looked like she was getting it together. And you thought, this is intriguing. This pitch isn't doing quite as much. But the Sri Lankan spinners were bowling way too full for the most part. They weren't allowing the pitch to do its job. And so that kind of covered up what was a pitch that had assistance. And once the spinners got their lengths right, especially in Weera, mentioned that fabulous over that she bowled to Dunkley, but she finished with 3 for 33. She did what she did against India. She's one of the reasons why I think Sri Lanka on their home patch could be a really dangerous side. And then it was all Ecclestone because, let's be frank, there are 3 teams in this World Cup that we're looking for to create an upset. We've all given up on Pakistan because even when they managed to get Australia 8 down, they conceded 106 for the 9th wicket. I know it's Australia. It can happen to anybody. But bless them, they cannot bat. They cannot bat for toffee. Bangladesh, we talked about it yesterday on this pod. They have essentially got 6 good bowlers, and then their mates have come in to be specialist batters. They're worse batters than the actual bowlers are. No one's got any batters apart from Sri Lanka, who are starting to put together a seriously interesting batting lineup. And when they got to 95 for 1, and it wasn't Chummery who had scored those runs, you thought, this is really on. They were up with the rate. There was no issue, but of course, Ecclestone hadn't bowled. She was the game changer. I don't know whether to save it for the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to. We've got to talk about Chummery. Alex Hartley on BBC commentary and ICC World Feed commentary absolutely lost her nut because let's try to describe what happened. Chummery whipped the ball into the onside. It was a long single, and she just sort of like hobbled her way down the other end. But I say hobbled, she dragged the right leg behind her. It didn't feel like, when you tear a calf, then you're kind of hopping. This felt like cramp, and she was sort of dragging the cramped leg behind her, took the easy single, then went down on the ground, face planted, pointed at her right hamstring, and before you knew it, there were 4 very burly men coming out with a stretcher. She was taken off on a stretcher, and unless you're Stefani Taylor, who has on a couple of occasions had an ambulance come onto the field and then 15 minutes later Lazarus-like returned to the fray, it's fairly rare to go off on a stretcher and come back out and bat. It caused some hilarity in our commentary box. It's cramp. Is it cramp? Have we got an official response? Do we know what it is? Because I was told it was a calf, but she pointed at her hamstring. Do you know what was going on there?
Yeah, it was quite a funny one. SLC did confirm while the game was going on that it was just cramp, and I don't know how many times I've ever seen a player being stretchered off for cramp. I really, there's a conspiracy theory brewing in the corner of my head. Like obviously Chamari Atapattu is one of the most planned for players in the game, right? Because anyone who plays Sri Lanka will come up with like plans A, B, C, D for Atapattu because she is such a singular threat in this top order that, and she's one player who can on her day absolutely take a game away on her own. That teams will come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plans for her. Is it crazy to suggest that perhaps there was, maybe she had been stretched by the trainer earlier before the game, and Estelle Vasudevan was telling me that she'd seen Chamari being, Chamari's legs getting extra attention during the pre-match training as well. So there is obviously something with her legs that they're giving extra attention to. Is it crazy to suggest that while that might have been happening, perhaps there's a little bit of because she did come out and bat and she seemed pretty good. Whether there was a little bit of trying to get ahead of England's plans a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent there, but yeah, it was, I think, it was it was a very weird thing for her to then, very quickly come out and bat as well. Didn't end up, making a huge difference. I think that Sophie Ecclestone spell really, once it started and once she got into that rhythm, there was no real stopping her.
I think you're right. And Nat Sciver-Brunt recognised that and bowled her all the way through 10 overs. And that is one of the things that has been really intriguing to me in watching Nat Sciver-Brunt's captaincy. This is no disrespect to Heather Knight, but you watch for years and years and years, Heather would have a plan and she would stick to the plan. It would be the same plan, and it didn't really seem to make any difference how the game went. What Sciver-Brunt does do is that she recognises her moments. Ecclestone coming on fourth change, in effect, she was the sixth bowler used, and then bowling her through the 10 overs. That was a great guileful piece of captaincy with a great guileful piece of bowling, and it was two of, well, let's face it, England's two best players, and in their different ways, they essentially won that match and they took it away from Sri Lanka. We're going to head to the Hall of Fame very shortly, but let me tell you a little bit more about Lacuna. They are doing something that has been needed and required for so long. This is about giving women and girls kit that they are comfortable and they are happy with. And does this sound woke to you? If it does, you need to have a long, hard look at yourself. Men have been having the kit that they're happy with for yonks. Finally, women are getting the kit that they feel comfortable in. They say their brand mission is to remove barriers for women and girls serious about their cricket, giving them the freedom to step onto the pitch feeling confident, comfortable, and focused on performance, not restricted by their kit. Anybody would want that for their daughter, their wife, their sister, anybody who wants to see women and girls playing cricket, more of it. They make bespoke female cricket wear created by women for women, which is absolutely vital. Who knows how much women's cricket kit or how much cricket kit has basically been made by men, and women have been told to wear it. There's sizing from 4 to 26 in UK sizes. It's a collaborative design, workshops that create unique and bespoke fits. Small minimum orders, quantities, short lead times, production based in Europe. I mean, come on, it is what this world is crying out for. And a country like Sri Lanka, I don't know how self-conscious women may be in Sri Lanka, particularly about the kit that they wear, but I know sure as hell that they will be in England, and I can't imagine it would be any different in Sri Lanka. It's a fantastic initiative, and it's one that should have happened years ago, but let's not dwell on the past, Vids. Let's dwell on the future.
Yeah, and I imagine that it's just another one of those things that will get young girls interested in cricket, or one less of a barrier that you have when there's cricket, when there's kits made specifically for girls and for women. So it's fantastic. I hope we get to see something like this in Sri Lanka soon as well.
Well, they're kitting out the Switzerland team, and they've already made it to number 28 in the world. And I would love, personally, to be heading to Switzerland to commentate on some cricket, because it's one of the great tragedies of my life that I live right next to one of the most beautiful continents in the world, and I hardly ever get to go and see cricket in it. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you to Lacuna. It's time for us, on the back of this, to head to the Hall of Fame. Welcome back. It's Hall of Fame time. Well, we've kind of covered Chummery, who could have been a Hall of Fame contender. I've also mentioned yet another run out by openers, which could have been a Hall of Fame contender. Fitz, have you got a Hall of Fame contender today? Because it wasn't an easy game once again for Hall of Famers.
No, I thought that Nat Sciver-Brunt's celebration, the rocking the baby one with Catherine Sciver-Brunt I think it was from what Nat Sciver-Brunt was saying at the end of the game, it was kind of an impromptu trip. They thought that they weren't going to see each other for 6-7 weeks, and obviously now she's got a baby in the hotel room, presumably fairly fresh baby. Was only born in March. I think he was born in March, so pretty young at that age, where they tend to wake up a lot and tend to require a lot of attention. And yeah, it was cool to see that. Players can have their families, even very young ones, around supporting them and around them. I can only imagine that makes life a lot richer and a lot less mundane on tour. Yeah, I like that. I thought that was fun, and she spoke nicely about it afterwards as well, and spoke nicely and felt that she had done them justice by scoring 100, because they had, Catherine Sciver-Brunt had to fly with Theo alone on the flight, and she felt that she was, her partner had done some hard work, and she was happy to reward them with a century. So that was nice. I enjoyed that.
I entirely endorse that. My Hall of Fame is going to be Emma Lamb, because we've all had those days, and they're no fun when you're in the field and the ball comes to you, and time after time after time, it behaves like, as Richie Benner would say, a bar of soap. It just eludes you, whatever you try to do. There was one where, there were a lot of commentators who were made to look a little bit silly by one where we're all going, oh, how has she missed that one? And it was a sweep. I don't know if you recall it. It was the left-hander swept the ball, and it came off the toe end of the bat. And you always say, oh, watch the spin, right? Well, the spin on the first bounce was actually pretty bad, but she covered that. The spin on the second bounce made Shane Warne's ball to Andrew Strauss look pedestrian, and it made a complete fool, bless her, of Emma Lamb. It wasn't fair. That was just one of the 3 or 4 different moments of awfulness that occurred to her. I dare say because of that, her confidence was completely shot to shit. Ball went under her legs, picked up ball from only 20-odd yards, inexplicably threw 6 feet over the head of Amy Jones, missed another one. No drop catches, by the way. England have only dropped 1 catch this entire World Cup. They've got a really strong catching percentage, which is something that Charlotte Edwards was obviously looking into after the calamities of recent years. But poor old Emma Lamb had one of those days where you just want the crowd to swallow you up.
That bouncing, I've never seen that. I've never seen a ball spin so much twice in any cricket ever. Because the first you mentioned, you said Shane, it was like Shane Warne had bowled it. It was like the first one being bowled by Shane Warne and the second one by Murali. Like they were like back to back. Yeah. Back to backs. There's no way. I don't think anyone could have done anything about that one. Genuinely, I don't know if there are any field. John T. Rhodes coming in from the rope. I don't know. I don't know if anyone could have done anything about that. It was just bad luck.
It was absolutely brutal, and it's a reminder that this game is cruel. She's a cruel mistress. She brings tears to your eyes and blood to your shoulders, and she certainly did that to Sri Lanka today. They are not out of it. Let's be very clear. That point against Australia means that they've got a bunch of games at home still, and they can pull off. Look, they've played New Zealand. That's going to be an absolutely massive game. Can they beat New Zealand? They've got the likes of Bangladesh and Pakistan to play. They could pull off victories against them. And we know what South Africa are like. When they think everything's going well, they absolutely collapse like a pack of cards. And they could be done by Rana Wira and that revived top order. But it's going to be an uphill struggle for Sri Lanka, without a doubt. For England, they're top of the table. I know it's only 3 matches. They play Pakistan next. If they win that, they'll have won 4 out of 4. They'll virtually be home and hosed. Their big game will be against New Zealand. All eyes are on the match tomorrow. India against Australia. Are India crumbling under the pressure of home advantage? We are going to find out. I can't remember who's on for the Final Word Daily, but it is the Final Word Daily, and we're on every day. That's the point. That's why it's called the Final Word Daily. Huge thanks to Lacuna Sport. Huge thanks to Lacuna for their support of the Final Word Daily. I've been Daniel Norcorss. You, Fids, have been Fidel Fernando. And we have mastered all of the nightmares of Wi-Fi in this otherwise impeccable, beautiful, and magnificent country.